Good question, and humbling to say the least. I get chills thinking about it. To grow up here in Pittsburgh as a Pirates fan, and grow up rooting for this team, watching Skipper and Gino, with the early '90s Pirates, and to learn so much as a kid from watching them. Andy Van Slyke being my favorite player, and obviously the play that broke all of our hearts with the Braves in '91. Really growing up a huge Pirates fan, and to have lived in Pittsburgh my entire life, to have played for Skip and on the same team with these guys in Detroit, to have great memories from that. So, when I look back on my life, my career, to grow up a Pirates fan, to watch Skipper and Gino on TV, and then to be able to be in the same dugout with them, to learn baseball from them. I mean, they've forgotten more baseball than we all know. And, to now be able to be called the manager of the Pirates behind them and what they've done, I can't say enough of great things about them and what they've meant to me and what the Pirates mean to me as a Pittsburgher.
Gino, what was your reaction when you got the phone call from Don Kelly that he'd like you to go back and help out?
I had to think about it. I mean, I knew I still have a burning desire to be, I guess, in uniform. Or as you get a little older, you wonder if you can do it. I had to talk to my family, got my grandson's just down the road. But I knew I wanted to do it. It just was at the right time, and I decided it was. So I talked to Jim a little bit about it, and I thought that he could help Donnie. So it's been great so far, and hopefully we'll win tonight. It'll be even great.
But didn't like his first 6 or 7 games, if I'm not mistaken, Donnie, I think, got ejected 3 times. Did you have any advice for him?
Well, I told him I wouldn't come if I had to manage every guy. He's cooled down a little bit, I think. I'll be truthful. As I saw Donnie as a player, I never saw him hot-headed like that. But he's got a fire that burns in his stomach, and I think it's good.
Skipper, did you think when Donnie was playing for you that he was managerial material?
Well, yeah, Donnie was a very observant player. I think sometimes people get confused. They think when a guy's a utility player doesn't play every day, he's a good player. I don't think people realize how good you have to be on a major league team. And Donnie was one of those players. He was a very valuable piece of our championship teams in Detroit. In fact, in Game 5 of the playoffs against the Yankees one year, he hit a home run in the second inning. I played him and hit him second in the lineup. He hit a home run off of Nova, who later pitched for the Pirates, I believe. Maybe before that, but he pitched for the Pirates at one point. And he was a very valuable guy. But the one thing about Donnie is that he was always ready. He never complained about not playing. He was always ready to play when you asked him. He was very versatile, could play several positions. But I think the most important part was that Donnie watched the game as a coach or a manager even back then. I'm not saying he managed every pitch or every single play, but Donnie observed the game at all times. And a lot of times players, you see them today, they have their bat and they're down in the dugout looking at the computer to see what the pitch is. Donnie wasn't like that. Donnie was on the steps, cheering for his team, paying attention to what was going on. So certainly he thought that somewhere down the road there would be a possibility, but you never know for sure.
Donnie, did you think when you were playing that would be something you'd like to do, manage?
I did. When I was done playing, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to stay involved in the game. But as I look back on it, got to experience some different things in scouting, player development, and having played for one of the best managers ever, just got to learn from, like I said, from Skip and from Gino. And something that I learned was how consistent you guys were and how you managed the team. And something that helped me be prepared for those situations and understand, paying attention to the game, what was going to come up, what situations I may be used in to pinch run, go on defense. You knew not to pinch hit me too much. The offensive card wasn't he laughs. But I was wondering when we go in to play the Yankees in 2011, and I thought he got completely hammered in the lineup because he hit me second in a do-or-die game.
And a division championship game. What are you doing?
It's funny. we were playing Yankee Stadium, which everybody knows has that very short porch in right field. And a lot of right-hand hitters have hit a lot of home runs there that really aren't home run hitters, but have hit some home runs in that ballpark because it's so short in right field. They also had a pitcher named Nova pitching who was a low ball pitcher. And Donnie was a low ball hitter. Donnie couldn't hit anything above the waist. But he was a good low ball hitter. Nova was a good low ball pitcher. And I felt when I got that Donnie had a chance of maybe hitting the ball out of the ballpark or getting a big hit for us because of the type of pitcher Nova was and the type of hitter Donnie was. And it just happened to work out in his first at bat. Donnie hit a big home run down Summit Board in Yankee Stadium. We went on to win that game.
Gino, I think you kind of shared then the philosophy with Jim about how, and I think Jim, I don't know what your quote is, you say, I may be old, but I'm not old school, something like that, right? In terms of embracing, to a degree, the modern day game and the analytics. But yet you still have to use your gut when you're managing, right, Gene?
Well, I think you do. I don't know if everybody does nowadays. I'm not really sure about that. But I do know there's too many variables that go on during a game and say you can script the game just how it's going to be. It just, maybe you can do that in business, I'm not sure. But in baseball, we have a lot of, who's pitching, who's hitting, who's running the bases. So I think if you know, I guess I'll take anything analytics has to help you win a game. You know, if they give you something you think maybe down the road can help you win a game, okay. But if it's something that you don't think will help you win a game, you don't. And I think a lot of the analytics, we had it. You know, we knew who hit who. And now they call it analytics, but Jim knew who, like he said, he knew who Donnie hit. He knew what kind of hitter he was. So I think analytics are here to stay, but I think you have to take what's good about it and maybe throw away what's not.
Well, that's a great point. I mean, to that point about starting Donnie against Devon Melvin, knowing about being a good low ball hitter, that was before they called it analytics. What, Gene, and I'm going to ask Jim then the same, what is the most impressive thing or things about Jim Leyland over the years as you've watched him manage? What made him a Hall of Fame manager?
Well, first of all, he understands the game as good as anybody. But he really understands people. You know, he knows who can play certain situations. But I think what Jim did, he always tried to put people, the players, in a situation where they succeed. He didn't ask somebody to, if you can't bunt, Jim never asked him to bunt. You know, if you couldn't hit and run, he didn't ask him to hit and run. And if you're going to steal a base, he didn't do that. So I think he put players in the situations where they succeed. And sometimes today, I think we ask players to do something they really can't do. He never did that.
Before we pass it to Jim, we'll pass it to Donnie and ask him about that. I mean, this is your first few months as a major league manager, but I imagine that's something you're trying to do as well.
Yeah, no doubt, and I know that Skipper has talked about information, and information, they just put a fancy word on it, called it analytics, but that was something that I know that you used and Gino used to make decisions, and same thing that we're trying to do is find, our job is to put the players in the best position possible, number one, for them to have success in order to help the team win. And that's the challenge every night, is finding a way to do that around the information that we have, knowing whether it's analytics or knowing the person and knowing, you know, what kind of shape they're in. Is there anything going on physically? Is there anything going on mentally? How are they doing? 162 games is a long time. And to have these guys that go out there every single day to compete at this level, understanding who they are, what drives them, and I think that that's something that made Skipper really good, is he understood people, like Gino said, and he understood, you know, how to motivate guys too. And I think that what came across is that he cared about his staff and his players, and cared about putting them in the best position and for them to be successful to help the team win, and that really came through in the way that he talked to you, in the way that he handled the team.
Jim, I'll ask you about Gino then. Well, it's been a long time. It's been your confidant, your friend. What was it when you first got to know Gene that endeared him to you and why you wanted him on your staff and what made him a great manager as well.
Well, Gino and I were roommates in 1966 in Lakeland, Florida, giving away the age a little bit, but in 1966 we were roommates in spring training. Gene was the #1 pick in 1965. I signed before the baseball draft happened. I signed in 1963, but we were roommates, and then we were roommates in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, in the Carolina League. And we were young guys. Gene was a better player than me and had a chance to eventually get to the big leagues, and I wasn't good enough to do that. But we talked a lot, even as kids, about the game. We even talked about our manager. In Class A, we discussed stuff that he would do, and we didn't really know why at the time, but we got thinking about it. We would ask questions. And Gene Lamont, I've said this a million times, he's the best all-around baseball mind I've ever been around. If you talk about managing, scouting, development, evaluation, total, you know, like I worked with Tony La Russa, who's the second winningest manager in the history of baseball, and a fantastic manager. But the best all-around baseball person I've ever been around, Gene Lamont. And we had a great rapport because Gene would tell me if he thought I was wrong. I would tell him if I disagreed, but we never had an argument. We discussed it, and we talked about it. And he's very thorough. I mean, he would study some of the stuff before the game, maybe more than I did in Detroit. He would be looking at stuff in the coach's room, and he might have had actually a little bit more information than I did. I had the information I wanted and the information I wanted to use. But as far as a baseball mind, the best I've ever been around, and I mean that sincerely.
What, Donnie, makes managing the Pittsburgh Pirates special, aside from the fact that you wore the Pirate uniform, but you're a Pittsburgh guy? Well, why is this so, and why is it so important for you to kind of help lead this team back to greatness?
Yeah, I think being from here and knowing the history, the tradition, knowing the frustrations, I feel it. The fans feel it, and it's personal, you know. And trying to get the staff and the players to understand the expectation of, you know. Honestly, I have no idea how many games we're going to win from now until the end of the season. And we talked about this yesterday as a staff and a team. We were flat against the White Sox, and that's not good enough. And we know as Pittsburghers, that's not the way we're going to go about it. And how do we every day show up with that energy? And yesterday I felt like it was a lot better. And that's the expectation going forward, is how are we going to go about it? Because if we go about it the right way every single day, and the players go about it, they come in, they work hard, they're prepared, and they compete, we play the game the right way, we're gonna win as many games as we possibly can. And I think that setting that as the standard of how we're gonna go about playing and competing and being prepared and working and respecting the game to play the game that way, that to me is gonna lead to as many wins as we can as we continue to add and continue to get better. And just candidly, you feel the frustration, I feel it, and it's our job to go out there and continue to work, continue to fight, and continue to get better.
Everybody in this room has invested literally hard-earned dollars to be here for a long time as season ticket holders. They know how important Pirates baseball is to this town, this region. They know what happens when a good contending team plays here. Or at Three Rivers for that matter. Gino, I mean, you saw it in 1997, you were the manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates when the Pirates weren't eliminated until the final weekend of the season. Most people had them ticketed for last place, but you held at the helm. You led them to, again, almost a division title in 1997. And how electric this town was. Talk about that for you as manager.
It was, something we didn't expect. The players bought into being there every game, being ready to play. And probably the most exciting moment of that season was against, I believe it was Houston Astros, had a no-hitter, and Cordova and Rincon. And then last night, Mark Smith was here, hit a home run to end the game before, I don't know if we had fireworks or what, but it was a packed house. So it was an electric year. We thought we were kind of lucky, really. You got to have some luck to be really good, I think. But I think good players probably have more luck than bad players. But it was a great season. We had some guys, Rich Loisel was our closer. Didn't expect that from him. John Lieber pitched great. Jason Kenlight was a rookie, and we just had a good team that just kept growing and growing. And you could see it was just, it wasn't like it was quite like when Jim came in '86. We had a bad team then. We had a real bad team, but we kept growing, and you saw in 90, 91, 92 what the city's like when you have a real good team. You know, we never won the World Series, but you know, we do some, I don't know, we do a 2.5, maybe even a little more than that. And I think if you can get that here, it won't just be a football town, it'll be a baseball town too.
They experienced that 13, 14, and 15, no question. Just going to a wild card game and then winning that first wild card game and going to the division series against the Cardinals. Jim, in